How's everyone doing today? It's gonna be okay. The sound eventually works. Deep breaths. It's gonna be okay. One moment. All right, I hope everyone's having an amazing Saturn day. January 13th, or so they say. Hope everyone's doing amazing. Shout out to Andre for getting a YouTube membership. Much love. Shout out to Hail Metallica for being a YouTube member for 9 months. The baby's almost due. You said bring the spice and everything nice. Hats off to your Red Pill podcasts and decodes. I'm really impressed with your dedication to your TA also. That really means a lot to me. I appreciate you. It's been really an amazing past couple months, and for those that have been following along for half a year now, maybe a year or more, we've been pretty much waiting for this past week to come for a while now, and it has come and gone. We have a lot to unfold. We have a lot that's going to unfold over the next 3 to 4 months when we enter eclipse season. So tomorrow I have a new Red Pill podcast coming out over on Patreon at patreon.com/watersabove. I'll be covering this entire market. We'll be recapping the last podcast that I did where we talked specifically about this January 6th through January 8th top. And here we are. 9 out of 12 years. If we don't count 2010 and 2011, it's probably not fair to count those because Bitcoin was trading at a fraction of a penny for about 80% of the first year and trading under 50 cents, I believe, for the following year. But those were the good old days for whoever was involved. Needless to say, we have repeated a cycle that we've seen before, and the accuracy is scary. So I'll be covering all of that in tomorrow's Red Pill podcast, but here we are doing the live stream, going to be keeping the crypto and chart conversations on the sidelines for today so that we could balance ourselves out. Servando Estrada says, you nailed it with your TA. Wow, I appreciate you, Servando. Really means a lot. Marco, love you too. Shout out to Slovenia. I appreciate y'all. Mr. Jansen, appreciate you and all the other Dutch wolves that are hanging out with us tonight. I know it's getting a little bit later out there. Ori said that she's reading Arnold Ehret now. Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, it's all love. Arnold Ehret pretty much changed my whole philosophy on consuming because it was a lot more than just looking at food based in calling yourself a carnivore, omnivore, vegetarian. He took it to a place that really resonated with where I was at in my journey. And he's the go-to for me when it comes to giving somebody a recommendation. Just a one-stop shop for information. And I do think no matter where you're at, even if maybe you read the mucusless diet in the past, every couple of years, I think everyone should reread it because it's worth it, just to get the reminders. And by the way, I'm experimenting with some new things regarding health and wellness that I'm going to be sharing with you all maybe in like a month or so. One thing you're going to learn about me, if you haven't already, is I do not talk about something until I've personally experimented with it. So if I don't know, I'm the first one to say, I don't know. And then I'll pull up my homie Patrick Starr and say that I live under a rock. But if I do know, then I'll share my truth. And I'll be very clear about my truth. There's my house. So I'm in my process of refining and experimenting month by month, year by year, and I love trying new things out. So I have some new stuff that I'm giving a shot regarding health, and I'll check back in with you guys when I have enough experience to feel confident that I could reveal what I've been doing. But many of you are probably aware I've been super interested in health in general, pretty much going on. It's been about maybe 13 to 15 years that I've worked with people in that particular field, meaning I've actually communicated with other people, giving them guidance and gnosis on how to reduce inflammation, reduce excessive adiposity, muscular, skeletal muscular tissue growth. We call that gaining muscle. And just all things. Detox is a really big part of my specialty. I love talking about stuff like that. And it's been a big theme here on these live streams for the past couple of years. And it's always great to tap into some of that stuff and talk about, some stuff that maybe you don't hear too often. Anyways, I got some chai tea. Getting spicy today. Hope you're all doing amazing. It's been a wild past couple weeks. I'm sure you're all feeling it. But we're going to have fun today. We're just getting started. It's been about a couple minutes since we've kicked off this live. Hang out for an hour, couple hours maybe. See how things go, as usual. Ori asks, I was wondering if you would speak to relationships and the hype around masculine powers and feminine power online these days. Yeah, we could talk about that. So first things first, Ori, one thing to watch out for is when people get buried in duality consciousness. And a lot of the time, that's what I tend to see in this conversation of, we could call it like red pill dating. But there's also more conscious conversations that have been built from this whole concept. And I get it. We're in a world right now where men aren't really embodying that masculine polarity, and women are equally confused. And we'll try to explore these topics without getting into name calling or without, talking down on somebody else's art. That's never my desire. But all I do is I come here and I speak my truth. And that's why we call this the sauna, because it gets hot, gets steamy in here. We got to be real. We got to speak the truth. And I feel like a lot of people mean well when they talk about a lot of these ideas. And they tend to forget two core themes. One, about a truth that I like to say often as much as I can when it comes to changing mindset or changing behavior. And that is, extremism is easy. And being conservative in your approach is actually difficult. We live in a world right now that is so far in either direction that the average change someone makes is very extreme. And that's why they have this crash and burn effect, or that's why they start to be buried in ideology. So I think now that we've laid enough of the foundation out there, it's really simple, family. I think we've complicated things, but it's very simple. We all have a past that we're working with. we also have multiple pasts. We have our ancestors. Their experience, their consciousness is stored within us in our salts. It's at a cellular level. It's stored within us as minerals. And we carry that trauma. You know, we carry that darkness. We carry that frequency. And it's not the end all be all of your journey. It's just something to be aware of. And then we also have our own experiences as kids, you know? So trauma has become a big conversation, all of this talk as well. Like, why aren't men embodying their role effectively? Why aren't women embodying their role effectively? And it's very typical for us to point out, well, people have daddy issues. People also have mama trauma, as I call it. And that's real stuff. You know, I've been very vulnerable with my waters above, you know. What do we even call this? It's just, I don't even know what to call this now. It's beyond anything I could have imagined, you know. We've taken this to a new level, and there's many levels to go. But I don't even consider it's just about me anymore. It's so much more than that. But anyways, we don't need the naming system. I've been very vulnerable about my experience with everything, talking about how my father was a drug addict and criminal, and in and out of jail most of my life. So I never grew up having that father figure around. And my mom, on the other hand, the thing that I struggled with her was I was seeking validation. I wanted her to be impressed by me. And that shaped the being that I am. It made me who I am. It made me want to be great at something because I always wanted that approval from my mom. And then I always wanted to be, there was another reason why I wanted to be great at something, which was because I didn't want to be a failure like my father. So I just knew how to work with all of those elements and transmute them into something that could bring value to people, to the world, instead of using those things to torment myself and become anxious and depressed and play the blame game and be the victim. None of that was sexy to me, even though I know that that's quite popular nowadays too. So because I've worked through those things enough to be vulnerable and talk with the whole world about it, well, it's a big sigh of relief. It doesn't need to be a burden anymore, right? And when I worked through those two things, I became a better man. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm perfect. I'm putting in my work, like all of you are, all the time, to be a better leader for all my people, not even the people that I'm connecting with through this transmission here of just the voice, but for people that are tangible, that are in my real life. You know, and I have an interesting code where I'm very almost self-sacrificial in a way, where I give up a lot of my own personal time and a lot of the desires that I have now to be useful. And I'm just working on being balanced there too, you know? So I hope you all appreciate the vulnerability and know that if you're going through any of these things, you know, don't let that be your Achilles heel, okay? What happened in your childhood doesn't need to be your Achilles heel. It just doesn't. It doesn't need to be the thing that makes you an awful person to other people. So this does shape your beingness, how masculine or how feminine you are. And what it's done for most is it makes men incredibly feminine. And then we have multiple psyops going on. We have this whole trans agenda and we have all this identity politics nonsense going on. That's done a great job at demoralizing our people. And then on the other side of things, You have what's going on with females, where look at the statistics of OnlyFans accounts that were created since C19 started. It'll blow your damn minds. I was just talking about this the other day, how I've heard about there's these guys that they have a girlfriend and they run their girlfriend's OnlyFans accounts for them so that their girlfriends could show herself off and that they can make a living for each other. Basically, she's paying the rent. I find that to be fascinating. That's something that could really only happen in the apocalypse, right? But I think this is the best apocalypse of all time. I'm giggling about it because I'm able to see it for what it is. Like, there's no judgment there. It's just, it is what it is. Like, it just is what it is. It doesn't concern me, but it adds data to my analysis of what's happening to the human species. So my thing is, if there's something you like, be inspired by it. And if there's something you don't like, be inspired by it. Meaning, if your father was a piece of shit, be inspired to be a better man than he was. Don't use that energy to now dump that energy on somebody else. It's very simple. And if you're a woman who's seeking validation, maybe because you didn't have a father figure when you were growing up, that's okay. But be careful if you do that with your husband or your boyfriend, because that could lead to very toxic situations. So the whole red pill dating thing, it has a lot of dangerous qualities to it. One of which, it starts to overly generalize people into groups. That could be harmful. It's kind of the whole thing like with vegans, or if you're a Trump supporter, or if you like Andrew Tate, or if you're somebody who watches sports, you sort of just get grouped into the whole cult. And that's what a lot of the red pill dating stuff is. Although it does have truths in it, as all things do. I always say, take what resonates and leave the rest. But then you have this other like quasi-spiritual new agey thing going on where it's like all these people are talking about tantra and, you know, like doing all this shit regarding the body. And this is where I'll wrap this up because I think this is what's going to be the most valuable part of this. The ego is very special. It's a very special thing. And the reason why it's so special is because it's your co-pilot. And what happens when the ego gets out of the co-pilot's seat and starts sitting in your chair, the chair of soul, then you become overly obsessed with the body, you overly identify as the body, and you become purely identity consciousness. And this is where it could get dangerous, where you start learning about all this new agey, like how to be a female stuff, and then you become imbalanced in that process, and you start to take on this identity that doesn't actually fit into your core values or where your intuition is at. It's just this slingshot effect. It's the pullback, you know, of shooting the shotgun. What is that called? The recoil. It's the recoil of you lacking awareness. And this is a thing that I think we could talk about in other directions. It's before you knew, you might have been safe. And then you learn about something and you become dangerous because you don't have the instruments yet to be a useful alchemist. Because you're still there in duality consciousness and identity consciousness. Before you knew, you were going one step forward, maybe to the edge of a cliff. And then you started to learn, and then now you've gone one step forward, 13 steps forward, and you're laying in a bed of rocks, broken. And it's because your ego was more damaged going into that field of awareness than it was before you got there. See, awareness and information is not good. We talked about this in the last live stream with hoarding information. So I have to get to a super chat really quickly, and then I'll wrap up this idea. I think it's valuable, and it could stem off into other areas. Silver Beast, I appreciate your super chat. You said, I want to thank you for your spot on analysis on Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol. I de-risked my positions and saved lots of money. Sending much love your way. Silver Beast, it's all love, you know, like, I mean, that's a generous super chat. I didn't save anybody any money or make anyone any money. Like, we're just out here speaking our truth, you know? I feel, you know, it's great to be a part of your journey. It's great to be a garnish on this plate of food you're cooking. Like, that's dope. I get to be a sprinkle of salt on top. So I appreciate you. And I hope you're able to turn those funds, those profits, into something that continues to work for you. You know, make that money work for you. It's all love. So the last thing I'm going to say about where we were getting at today, just a moment ago, it comes back to something that we watched happen with C19. And then I think now this is all going to make sense, okay? With C19, you guys all started learning about germ theory and what happens with taking this V and what happens when you wear a mask for extended periods of time. And you got it. Your intuition was flaring up and being like, nope, I ain't going to do that shit. Right? You were a disruptor. Like, your stomach was speaking for you. Your stomach and your heart were speaking for you, not your mind. Okay? Please remember what I'm saying right now. Now, that intuition saved your fucking life. That's the beautiful thing about intuition. And what I say often is that ego is the portal to intuition. And when your ego is completely damaged and destroyed and broken, or when you have so-called killed your ego, then you are susceptible to programming from the outside. We could call that brainwashing. And this is what happens with the New Agers a lot. They find new information and then they conspire about it until it's this grand conspiracy, and then it tears away at them. And then they become so unagreeable to the average person that they start losing all these friends and all these family and all these people that actually do kind of matter. Because you become so judgmental and so negative. You start calling everyone NPCs and everyone's an idiot. And why? Why are they all idiots? Because they don't agree with you? Because they don't know what you know? You see where I'm coming from, family? People got to remember, I was doing this during the whole pandemic, meaning I had access to people. People were booking calls, calling me up, saying, Waters, I'm considering divorcing my wife because she doesn't do this, that, and the third. And then by the end of the call, we would get to a point where I'm like, don't you notice what you're doing to her right now was the thing that your mom did to you when you were growing up? And then they're like, oh shit. And then they start crying. It becomes this emotional ordeal. And then I remind them, I'm like, you need to learn how to be compassionate with people, because when you become compassionate, then you could speak to them in a way where you could help them realize that their ego is damaged and that you could be a part of the process of their own internal alchemy by being in love with them, showing them love in a world that has almost none of that left. I'm not saying be soft with people. I'm not saying be overly agreeable with people. But take a fucking second to imagine that this whole world doesn't actually work the way you think it works. You're not the God and judge and juror of everyone else's truth. Now, you are of your own. That's great. But if it's tearing apart families and tearing apart all this stuff, who do you think wins at the end of the day? The New World Order. The people that you think you're fucking against. They continue to win. As long as we're divided, we will never overcome the parasite. which is Zionism. Once we could put all that bullshit aside, like our political opinion and what sports team we like and what color is the best and is the V good or not good, once we could start actually putting that stuff on the sidelines and looking at a person for their soul rather than their identity or their momentary opinion about something. Like, does anyone in your family even give a single fuck about the V anymore? Is anyone talking about it? Probably not, right? So we went through all of that time of judging and hating on people and all this bullshit for what? How many people were like, oh, they're all going to die the moment they take it and there's going to be, everyone's dead. Bro, that's just not how it went down because it's sensationalized. If it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. And my big point here is we do the same thing with every piece of new information. We let it get the best of us to the point where our truth is invisible. And all I'm teaching here is accessing your truth. That's it. So when I started learning about all this, like, feminine embodiment coaches and all of this, like, it's cool. Like, I think it's very helpful for some people, but just don't let it infiltrate your intuition. Don't let any new information infiltrate your intuition, because at the core, deep within you, is your truth. And I know that once you get there, you're going to feel for once when before you were numb. And when you accept every new truth as some sort of overarching truth for you, then you are gone. Soul is no longer there. You're the identity. That's all. You're just the body. That's all. And I believe there's more to this than just the body and just the identity. That's why I've decided to do Waters Above in a way, the exact way that I'm doing it. And look at what we're able to do whilst doing it this way. We don't need the fucking O-face thumbnails. We don't need all of this drama. We don't need all of this clickbait bullshit. We don't need, it's just, it's not going to happen here. Ever. It never has. We had people saying at 10,000 subscribers, oh man, you're going to change when you hit 50. Bro, we're at 70. Look at the last live stream. What were we talking about? What were we talking about? Let me get through some of these super chats and then we're going to get super spicy. Sai, I appreciate you. Appreciate the super chat. You said, hey, Jordan, ready for you to go scorched earth on us today. Like Lawrence Fishburne said in John Wick 3. Sometimes you just got to cut it. Yeah, I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I appreciate you, Sai. Much love. I appreciate you. Shout out to... One second. Ori, I appreciate you joining a YouTube membership. It's all love. Oh, damn. Adam John said, hey, I just purchased myself a guitar and I'm trying to learn Asilius Magdalena and writing too. Well, you're jumping to some really difficult music right away. Shit. You said, what are your favorite published songs to play? Would love to learn H by Tool. So Adam, when I started playing guitar, like, I don't know, almost 20 years ago, I played cover music for a little bit. Like, I started way lower than you. You're going straight to the fucking gold, bro. I started with like Nirvana songs. Shout out to Nirvana. Shout out to Kurt Cobain, wherever he's been cloned and consciousness transferred. Then I started learning like some Metallica songs when I got a little better. But then very early on, I basically quit playing cover songs. I've been playing my own music probably for 95% of the time that I've been a musician. So, Adam, that's what I would tell you. Like, if I had to give a piece of advice, I would say that follow my rule of twos with everything you do. Like, just give it a shot. It's really solid. And we could try it with this example. And I think now people could see another way of utilizing the rule of twos. And it's basically you prioritize 2 things per day. So if you were to have 100 things on your to-do list, that's the reason why you do 97 of those things shittily. Like, let's just be real here. We've been told that multitasking is like a virtuous thing. No, it's not. Multitasking is doing several things poorly. Remember I said that. So what I want you to do with guitar is learn one song or one part to a song that you really like, that really inspires you. And then now I want you to go write a song or write a part of a song every day. So you follow the rule of twos. But one is you tapping into somebody else's art as inspiration, and then the other one is you creating yourself. This is what I do with everything that I do. I stay creative. I don't just stay in the flow of playing other people's stuff like I've gotten to a place now where I feel there's so much potential inside of all of us, and you won't really know it until you take the risk of doing your own thing. All right? So try that. Instead of getting into learning all these other Tool songs, just learn a part of, that Write in 2 track, and then I want you to go write your own song. Come back to me in a couple months. Thank me later. Got about 730 people with us. I appreciate y'all. Rugburn 222, I appreciate you. You said, does the salt's memory idea also play into your water distilling? So, Rugburn, the way that water works is very, very amazing. It's programmable. So you can take any type of water and you could literally share a thought with it. You could share a intention with it. All the water. Even the water that comes out of your shower head. I talked about this once. I don't know how long it's been. But when I was creating my expansion mastermind course, I know if Facile is in here, or like Eli, maybe Janet or Clementine, like the people in my expansion group coaching. But when I was making my expansion mastermind course, and this is going to blow some people's minds, but I took a ton of showers during that time. And every time before I got in the shower, I basically told myself that the water is going to unlock a piece of wisdom for me to then go talk about. And sometimes I would be running out of that shower like naked, fucking water all over the floor, going up to I had a whiteboard at the time, and just going up to this whiteboard and writing out the idea. And then I just always had 3 to 5, maybe sometimes 7 ideas after every shower. It was crazy. But I went in there with that intention, and I have this awareness that you could program water. And you could do this with anything. You could do this with tap water. You could do this with fucking bottled water. It doesn't matter. Like, you are a magician, all of you. I want people to be aware of this. You could program all liquids, but water is liquid crystals, liquid salts. So it doesn't matter if you distill it. See, we're distilling water because we're about to consume it, and we don't want exogenous inorganic minerals going into the human body because the body doesn't know what to do with it. It stores it in the kidneys. And it could really start to disrupt lots of your organs, not just particularly the kidneys. So we've already talked about this distilled water thing, and too many people still don't get it. But I know you probably get it, and that's why you asked this question, and that's a dope question. And kind of gets coupled with a pretty awesome story and trip down memory lane. But I think using water, programmed water, is a key to becoming the alchemist. You know how many people, by the way, already practice blessing their food? Like, how many people already do that? But like what they did to a lot of religions, like the Abrahamic religions, I think maybe in Muslim, they're doing it a little bit more alchemy style, like a little more magician style. And correct me if I'm wrong. But I used to eat dinner a ton with, look at these sheep, bro. Look at these rams. Cute ass motherfucker. Yeah. I love Mother Nature. Anyways, so about the whole blessing the food thing. See, what they got people to do, and this is going to be controversial, but this is the sauna. What temperature is it right now? What are we at? What were we doing last week? All right. We're hotter than that, bro. We're hotter than that. We're at 120 minimum. Steam sauna. All right. So where we're getting at with this is I'll tell you exactly where they distracted you from your magic. When they have you pray over your food, they have you giving all your prana to Jesus, or they have you giving all your prana to God. You got to stop fucking doing that. You give your prana to the food. Literally. You don't say, I thank God for my food. What do you mean you thank? You're the God, bro. Come on, snap out of it. And then shortly after you realize, oh, it's actually my food is the God. Because God is always changing, just like purpose is always changing. Remember we talked about this. When it comes to purpose, when you have to use the bathroom, the toilet becomes your purpose. When you're thirsty as shit, water becomes your purpose. Well, when you're sitting down for a meal, if you're alone, the food becomes your purpose. Or if you're with somebody, maybe that person becomes your purpose. But the point here is that if you watch closely, the exoteric Abrahamic religions have done this thing that always externalizes this source, and it's always having you think the wrong things when you could be channeling that energy into programming what it is you're about to consume. That's all I'm saying. Program your water, program your food. If you are, like, literally, you are the architect in the Matrix movie. You're just a fucking programmer. We're here in the simulacrum. This is the Matrix. Sorry, Brave Browser has the worst image search of all time. No offense. Like, you're all programmers, bro. See, you're not Neo. People got to wake up. Like, you're not Neo. You are the Oracle, the Architect, and the Merovingian. And if you're lucky, you're Sati. But this is facts right here. This movie was trying to teach you something. All right, let's keep going. So speaking of spice, I should get to these supers real quick because I don't want to miss out on those. Shout out to Abs. I appreciate you, brother. It was great to connect with you and Coach JV in the 3T Warrior Academy. Quite recently, on the day of this ETF launching, and I believe I had a moment to share my analysis. It was really nice to be able to talk about what I saw going on in that market. And it looks like it's turning out how we anticipated. Gabriel Saliba, I appreciate your super chat. You said, Waters, what can a middle-aged man or woman do to add plumpness to the face for a younger-looking appearance? Sending you and the pack lots of love and mama's hummus. Oh, shit. Yo, I love hummus. So, you got me. You got me. All right. Back on track. When it comes to there's a lot of things to get into with this. Usually people want to reduce inflammation or puffiness from the face. So it's not often that I get such a question. And what I would have to consider here is you always want to be consuming in a way that reduces inflammation. Okay, we got to get that out of the way. Number two, the thing that I would always add if you wanted fullness in general is you want hydration. And if you couple hydration along with eating plenty of whole foods, carb sources, which are the food of humans, if you can do that effectively and not be too crazy with the salt, and maybe get a little bit more balanced with some important minerals such as magnesium, I think you would have a total effect here, which could give you that look that you want without needing to go the route of products. Okay, because I know products are like the first thing people want to hear in this, and I'm never going to start there first. Okay, so what's going to happen when you're eating a effective amount of food, okay, is you're going to not look so flat and depleted. Gabriel, I think, are you somebody who's like a bodybuilder? You're like in really good shape. I think I got on a client call with you once, so I might remember. Anywho, the point is that if you are and you know anything about diet, you know that if you're effectively hydrated and you're consuming enough carbohydrate, you're gonna fill up more just with glycogen, whether that be muscle or liver. But that's what's gonna happen. And people over time, when they get a little bit maybe more focused on other things in life, like you said, middle-aged. Yeah, when some people have kids or they have a stressful job or whatever, they start eating in weird ways and they don't stay consistent, and they start snacking a lot with these very highly processed foods that are full of chemicals and salts. And yeah, so that could make you gain fat for sure. But still look depleted in certain areas, and then you have that like flabby look. You know, that happens a lot with people over time if they don't exercise, especially. So you combine exercise with effectively being hydrated and getting a proper amount of carbohydrate, which I would recommend to get from fruit. You should never look that flat, depleted look. And if you're especially getting it from fruit, it will clear out the skin, because fruit will heal the lymphatic system. And because the skin is the biggest organ, the epidermis, you're going to see health improve in general across the whole epidermis, you know. Also, you might see some detox symptoms if this person has a really toxic microbiome. But again, I don't really know who I'm working with here. I'm just shooting out a couple ideas for you to consider. Now, when it comes to topical stuff, I would be really cautious with anything topical. You know, I would definitely be cautious. And you know, one thing that might sound weird, but it could be the solution, because you asked about the face. This is going to be weird, but I want you to try, if this is you're talking about, if you're talking about giving this advice to somebody else, I want them to try 4 minutes a day, every day, of oil pulling. So what the oil pulling is going to do is it's also going to exercise the jaw. It's going to exercise the muscles in the cheeks. It's also going to exercise all of these tendons and what's going on in the neck, in the clavicle, connected to the deltoids. And like, believe it or not, you don't think that's as significant, but it is. I'm not telling you to go buy one of those like jaw exerciser things. You don't need to go that route, but just try the oil pulling, because the oil pulling is going to be like you kill two birds with one stone sort of effect. I don't love saying that, but I think this is really solid advice in this position. If you're somebody who is effectively hydrated, you are taking care of yourself, you are eating a mostly whole food, plant-based diet, and everything else that I said earlier. Do the oil pulling about 4 minutes a day. The oil that I would recommend is as unrefined as possible, cold pressed sesame oil. And some companies have an Ayurvedic blend where they'll include things like clove and amala and a whole slew of different, cinnamon. And if they're coming from natural sources and it looks like a solid product, then you could consider that for the oil pulling. And don't go longer than 4 minutes. Definitely don't go to 10, 15, 20 minutes like they recommend you. in some of these recommendations out there. A lot of them actually tell you sometimes 20 minutes. And you got to remember that you have a duct below your tongue. You also have all of these crevices in your gum lining that will be areas for toxins to get into your bloodstream directly, okay? So when you are now doing oil pulling, you're pulling out toxins, and that happens actually pretty damn quickly, about 5 minutes or so. When the oil starts to heat up in the mouth and you've had enough of this activation in your saliva, it's sending signals to the gut microbiome. There's tons of things going on within the body. Now you start getting into the 10-minute mark of oil pulling, and you're now recycling those toxins back into yourself. So it's like a 1 step forward, 2 steps back kind of thing. It could help tremendously with with the way your teeth look to be doing 10, 15, 20 minutes, but it's not necessarily the answer for detoxification. So I hope you understand where I'm going with this. But for your particular situation, I think the jaw exercise and the exercise of the cheeks could provide fullness in that way. And if you combine all those things, you're pretty much going the route of solving this without any big investment or, if you're able to get more fullness in the face also by improving your dental health, then it's a win-win, right? And it's also just in general detoxifying. Marco says a statement, ego is damaging our consciousness. Well, no, Marco, ego is there for your consciousness to have a physical opportunity. See, Marco, you are Marco. I'm assuming you're a man. You got gifted this body to have a physical experience here for you, for soul. Soul is Marco in this scenario. Ego is not damaging your consciousness, okay? Your inability to realize what the ego is there for is what's damaging your consciousness, okay? If you realize what the ego is, then you would realize how fucking helpful it is, okay? You know what ego is like this. You know when you need to carry furniture and you're like struggling to do it alone, and then somebody comes out of nowhere and says, hey, let me help you with that. The guy that picks up the other end of the couch is your ego. I want everyone to just close their eyes. Don't speak any words right now. Just don't even clear out your mind and imagine what I just said. And then picture it. Marco wants to help move a couch into his house. Homie can't do it alone. Then somebody sees you struggling and shows up and says, hey, need some help? And you're like, fuck yeah, I need some help. And then the other guy picks up the couch and helps you bring the fucking couch inside your house. And you like that. You're like, that was nice. That was very helpful. That's the ego. The ego is that guy. He shows up out of nowhere all the time. Every fucking choice you're about to make. Everything you think you want to manifest. Isn't it a lot better when somebody shows up and kind of supports you in that process? Dude, this is an important thing that I'm saying right now. I know it's maybe something you haven't heard before, but that's why it's going to tap into you. It's going to bring utility because of that. Yo, is Abs here? People that work out. You know what ego is? Ego is your spotter. You trying to bench press? I know it's funny to bring it up in this case because people have that term ego lifting, right? When you're trying to lift just to get people just for people's validation. Like you want people to see how strong you are, right? But no, for real, ego is your spotter. Your soul, you're beneath the weight, the muscles, the central nervous system, the barbell, the fucking weights on the ends. That's the matrix. You're here. Deal with it. It's so much better when you have a fucking spotter, isn't it? Stop hating on your spotter, guys. Stop hating on the guy that shows up and helps you move the fucking couch. Just be okay with him being there when you need him the most. I bet you if you were trying to lift a really heavy weight and you couldn't, you started to reach failure, you would panic, okay? You want to know what's going on with the fucking world right now? Everyone is in panic mode. Everyone is the guy beneath the barbell holding way too heavy weight, not knowing what to do with it, and having no spotter. That's what the fucking world is right now. And that's why Zionism keeps winning, because Zionism protects community over all things. And they do that by destroying our communities, by destroying our people, by planting a fucking mind parasite in all of us that makes us think that this individualism thing is somehow virtuous. But it's never been the case. You love when a guy shows up to help you move the couch. An old lady is really appreciative and grateful when the young man walks across the street to help her carry the groceries home. You know the world we live in today? Compare it to 20 years ago. 20 years ago when somebody knocked on your door, you were like happy to see the guy. You were like, oh my God, somebody's here. You know, Sebastian Maniscalco made an amazing joke about this. But now today somebody shows up at your door and you're like, holy, I'm going to get my gun. Who the fuck's at my door? You like wig out because you are all in fucking panic mode. This is what the New World Order did to us. They made us like a squirrel with our head on a swivel, just fucking nervous all the time. Gotta pay my bills. I gotta check my Instagram. I gotta see if anyone liked the tweet that I put out. You're all over. You're everywhere but here. And it's because your ego has been put through a fucking meat grinder. Stop hating on your spotter. Your spotter is a homie. Your spotter wants you to get better. Your spotter is counting for you. Your spotter is timing the stress of every rep. Like, this is a really important thing to consider. So keep this in mind. The best place to be is to have some help when you need it most. And it's been very tough for humanity nowadays because whenever we want help, we go to the specialists. I'll break this down even more for everyone. When you guys need help with money, where do you go? You go get a loan at the bank. That's really interesting, right? Because you don't have a spotter. Because you don't have a co-pilot. You don't have an ego. You have no community. Ego is not damaging your consciousness. Ego is your co-pilot. Ego is your spotter. Ego is doing everything to keep you on a successful path. What happened with all of us and why we demonize ego is because a lot of people have their ego under the weight. The ego is pumping out reps, and you're counting and spotting for your egos. Let me pull this up. There has to be like a... Is there a spotter fail compilation? This is probably not safe to show you. Like, this guy is holding 800 pounds. It's not going to go well. He's probably going to throw up. Yep, knees buckling. Not so good. Yeah, just watch a bunch of people fail at bench pressing and you'll see where I'm coming from here. It's a lot better when you have a spotter. So what I meant before about the average person is their ego is doing all the heavy lifting for you, and you get no credit. You get no FaceTime. You get no hero story. And that's the opposite of how it should be going. I'm not saying you should be heroes or you should get credit, but I'm just letting you know that's kind of the way the system is built right now. The system is built that if you want more information, go to a school, get it from the books. If you want money, go get it from the bank. If you want food, get it from the grocery store. Nobody knows how to farm. Nobody knows how to grow their own. Nobody knows anything anymore. We're skillless. So the ego is doing all the heavy lifting. The ego is doing everything. And you're just sitting there on a cell phone hoping for the best. It's paradoxical and very interesting. But it's just the way it is. So stop shitting on the ego. Ego is there for a reason. And I hope this example and this idea that we surfed down today kind of puts some things into perspective for people. Sarah Arias, I appreciate you being a long-term YouTube member. That really means the world to me. Sarah Arias, I see your super chat. You said, "Hey Jordan, shout out from the Arias pack. Adam and I and the Wolf Pup have our big brother, son, stepson in town and are so happy to listen to you as a family." Oh man, shout out to the family. You just walked into a spicy, you walked into a ghost pepper eating contest. Appreciate you guys. I hope you're all doing amazing. I'm going to make sure that I get through all these. Sai says, you had eureka moments from the shower. Absolutely. I appreciate you. That's all love. Dustin said, I love when OnlyFans creators refer to themselves as entrepreneurs. Yeah, but Dustin, they are, man. They out here making this money, bro. They're taking advantage. They're no, not taking advantage. Well, taking advantage it is what it is. Like, they're just serving their purpose, you know? Like, Dustin, I think this is a cool thing to talk about for a minute, right? We're all just serving our purpose, and some people are here to master the mind. Some people are here to master the body. Some people are here to realize that the mind and the body are the same. And then out of those people, how many of them make it to the place where unity consciousness is something they practice? Some of them, it's just talk. It's not something they actually practice. But most people are here to either master the body or be a slave to the body. It's either or. And if you're able to make some money off of whatever it is, and you're able to like then transmute that into something bigger than being homeless and, you know, having to stick your cup out and hope somebody puts a quarter in it, then I don't know, man. Like, you know, like I assume I'm trying to be compassionate right now, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that there's probably like single mothers out there that are not doing so well. And having an OnlyFans account saved their lives. Like, now they're able to put food on the table for their kids, you know? I mean, the world is full of a million examples of where this stuff is just circumstantial. You feel me? And, but yeah, good joke you made. It is funny. And it is kind of a slap in the face to the people who went out of their way to create a product and actually share something with the world that required a risk more than just taking your clothes off. And again, no offense to those people that do that. It is what it is. We're all serving our purpose is really the thing. I'm seeing some comments coming up from Our brother, Buck 52,000. But I'm trying to find the... Yo, Buck 52. It's all love. You're talking about your daughter, and she's a college athlete. And you're asking, what can I do to help her? Buck 52,000, we're going to have to get her on a fast. Like, that's just, it is what it is. Like, we're going to have to pause all the other stuff she's doing, especially if she's supplementing with anything. Because you're saying she's an athlete, so I don't know. Is she taking protein powders and creatine and all these like multivitamins, and especially if she's taking pills, okay? You got to listen up. Throw all those fucking supplements in the trash. They're fucking up her liver and her kidneys, and they're going to make it so that the lymphatic system just does not work. Now, I'm very weary about giving advice in this because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a healthcare practitioner. I'm not seeing this person as a client of mine. I don't know what they look like. I don't really know much about them. But at that age, at 18 years old, okay, we shouldn't be going through those particular issues with the lymphatic system. So that means I'm going to quickly assume that it's coming back to the way she's consuming. And we need to reduce that as much as possible and get her on a whole food plant-based diet, as much fruit as possible, because we need to get her lymph moving. Everything that's processed, all animal flesh and animal byproducts, will basically be adding in more exogenous mucus and pus into the diet, and it will make it very, very difficult for the lymph to effectively work. So if you can come up with a way of getting her to listen to this, what we're talking about here, we could share a little bit of a protocol. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to, push any fear in you. It's just something that needs to be considered highly because of her age and because of what she's going through. And also at that age, it's so easy to reprogram and repattern, right? We've all been there. When we were 18, it was hella easy to completely change everything about what we were doing. All right. So this is a ripe age to do this. Like, most people, they are in their 40s, 50s trying to make some of these changes, and it's just too difficult. They're too programmed. They're no longer fluid. They're like cement, like Medusa. All right? So I would consider heavily something like grapefruit juice only, like maybe 50-50 grapefruit juice and orange juice, fresh squeezed. Go on Amazon. You could buy a slow masticating juicer, cold press juicer for $100 or less. I would reduce all greens. And then after doing this for about 3 days straight, I would then introduce to that same juice a half a lemon and maybe some ginger root and turmeric root. All right. But the same juice, 50-50 grapefruit and orange. We need something astringent. We need something that's really going to move lymph. Then after about a week of doing that, she needs to try a 24-hour dry fast. And after that 24-hour dry fast, I have something that is going to be a little bit weird, but you have to give it a shot. Okay, after the 24-hour dry fast, have her do the same juice, the 50-50 grapefruit and orange. Not from a bottle, not from a can. We need to get this from fresh oranges, organic, biodynamic, if you get like the best quality you can get, because we're talking about the health of somebody right now. We need to be very cautious about what we're putting inside of ourselves, especially if we have something serious like this. So after the full week of trying that protocol, where it's about half the week of just doing orange, grapefruit, 50-50, then the next half of the week, you're going to do a little bit of ginger root, turmeric root, and lemon added to that same juice. It's going to be super citrusy, maybe not the most fun. If she can't get through it, cut the juice with distilled water. You could just add some distilled water to it. It's perfectly fine. Now, after the 24-hour dry fast, a week after that protocol, then on day 8, essentially, or I guess day 9 if you want to consider a full week, and then day 8, the dry fast, day 9, do the same juice, with the ginger, turmeric, lemon, as well as orange and grapefruit. And then on the day after that, I want you to introduce something that she normally eats, okay? Early in the day, I want you to introduce something she normally would eat, but not a crazy big amount of it. I want you to try still doing about 75% of daily calories coming from juice, and then just add in a meal. And this is very weird to do. It's counterintuitive, but what I believe it will create is some sort of whoosh effect, and it will actually trigger a release of lymph. And then when just tell her she wants to keep an eye on her urine, because she will probably pass urine at some stage of this fast that is very cloudy. And if she does this whoosh effect kind of move where she eats, I don't know, like fucking, it could be really anything, as long as it's not meat, dairy. Yeah. But it could be anything, even cooked food. This usually is what the body needs to go, oh shit, you're putting a foreign invader in me. What am I going to do? And then the kidneys they'll activate. The whole system will start to activate, and it will actually push out more lymph. It's crazy, but anyone here who's ever done a keto diet or like a long extended period of time of not consuming carbohydrate, you'll know that this is a trick. Also, it's done in carb cycling for people who are like bodybuilders who are trying to get more stage ready. Just manipulating your carbs is pretty big. Well, this whoosh effect also happens in detox, and I've seen it happen so many times in myself, and I've seen it happen in so many times with clients that I've worked with. It seems counterintuitive, but it's like, it works, man. It really does. And especially when you're getting new to all of this, you'll see this super cloudy urine afterwards, and that's telling you for a fact, that your kidneys are now filtering some lymph. And then we just want to see what's going on from there. But we want to keep up consuming in a way where we're sticking mostly to liquids, juicing. This could take some time, but we've seen incredible effects from keeping it just to these really citrusy, astringent juice mixtures. And including all this turmeric, for sure. Turmeric root, by the way, not turmeric powder. Including this turmeric root, anyone could study the effects that this has on the body, even with powders. But when you're doing the real turmeric root, it's powerful stuff. Now, one thing some people might say is like, well, you're not going to activate the curcumin and the turmeric if you don't add black pepper. And it's like, fine. If you want to go that route, you could add a little bit of like habanero. I used to do that myself. It's very extreme, and we want to put the littlest amount possible. You don't want it to taste spicy, okay? Because that's going to trigger things in the body that you don't want. But yeah, consider this. Consider this 2-week fast. Could be powerful. Cody's saying, when your urine is close to clear, do you need to cut back on hydration? Well, if your urine is very, very clear, it could just be after you've already consumed a ton of liquid, because most liquids are processing through the body in like 20 minutes. Even fruit digests in 30 to 45 minutes. So if you're going to chug back a half a liter of coconut water, I mean, of course, your next urine is going to be pretty clear. The urine that matters most, if you wanted to analyze, which I know we're getting kind of like down a different path right now, but just to help people out with this whole thing, the most important urine to analyze would be the first time you go in the morning. Or like if you wake up in the middle of the night, like 4 a.m. or something. That's the one, because that's the one that's most likely to pass lymph. And you should see that. And if that's discolored, then totally normal. Like, I'm not discolored, I should say. If it's too yellow or more orangey or very, like, you can't see through it, for instance, that would be a sign. that there's literal lymph in it. Some people, like, they want to go a little extra and collect it just to see it, because lymph actually does settle. It almost looks like a snow globe. And if you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, just go Google it or YouTube it. Lymph passing in the urine, or kidney filtration would be another thing that you could Google, and you could see what I mean. And don't get all caught up in these really hardcore approaches that people are sharing. You know, some people are very hardcore about it. They want you getting into all these tinctures and all this, and like, you gotta go more what the body has been wanting since the beginning, which is hydration. Tinctures ain't hydrating shit. You're basically just drinking alcohol that has been saturating some sort of herb in it for a long period of time. And those things serve their purpose too, but don't turn those into a crutch. Like, what we need to change is the lifestyle. We need to change the whole consumption regimen. Let's move on from this. Buck52, I'm sending you and your daughter lots of love. I appreciate you, brother. I was asked to please come to Slovenia. I'm not sure. Someday I'll go there. Mr. Jansen said true Muslims pray and before and after meals, at least all of my fam does, not whole prayers, but have these one-liners. Yeah, like before you eat a meal, you do one of those Rodney Dangerfield jokes. Get a quick one-liner in on the plate of spaghetti. You're like, my spaghetti looked at me a little with some side eye, so I told it to go fuck itself. That's one of my finer moments. Mr. Jansen, we love you. We love that you're doing your part in taking action to organize wolves over in the Netherlands. We all appreciate you, for real. Jokes aside. Got about 700 people hanging out with us. Appreciate y'all. Sebastian says, what do you know about the dangers of fructose and how the body metabolizes it? Steve Jobs, cancer, and high fructose consumption. First of all, Steve Jobs is not really an example here, okay? Steve Jobs had a very particular cancer, and when it comes to fructose... Oh, and also the other thing we have to say about Steve Jobs, by the way, shout out to Steve Jobs. I wouldn't have this phone that I'm holding without him. A lot of these things, not because he made them, but because he pushed people to fucking make them, which is a role that's needed in this world, because this world has many people with lots of calories to burn, and they don't have a fucking coach behind them telling them that they could burn more calories or push out the extra rep. And Steve Jobs was the guy standing above you when you were pushing the weight, saying you can do another rep. And you said, no, I can't, I'm tired. And he said, fuck yes, you can. And then you started going up and you're like, I can't. And Steve Jobs was like, you better fucking do this. And then you did it. And that's what Steve Jobs was here to do. I'm very inspired by that, actually. So anyways, we need to realize that why Steve Jobs had the reality that he had regarding health is because he was in a very, very stressful position. He's a goddamn CEO, and he was behind the creation of some of the most groundbreaking pieces of technology that ever existed. At the scale they existed as well. We're not talking about a fucking walkie-talkie that was around for a little bit of time. Like, we have been holding iPhones in our hands now for 20 years in a world where, can you really explain to me a smartphone that has been much different in the past, 17 years? No. They all look like an iPhone. And everyone that tries to be a little different than the iPhone sucks. Like these folding touchscreen phones. What's the point of a phone that's touchscreen that folds? I thought we were trying to get away from the extra movement, right? Anyways, The point here is that it's easy to die quicker when you're stressed all the time and when your whole life is about the future. Steve Jobs wasn't here with us. He wasn't in his body in this moment. He was 100 years ahead of all of us. It's easy to die quick when you're never here. That's why he did what he did. He served his purpose. That's important to talk about because that type of sacrifice is something that very few want to discuss. And then they'll point it back to the diet, and it's like the diet is only one thing. What about mindset and stress? I bet you Steve Jobs went days without eating food, not because he was planning out a fast like some of us do. He went days without food because he was fucking in the trenches trying to create some new shit that the world has never seen before. I'm just saying, like, when you're at that level, man, like, you're not thinking about food. It's funny, like, I plan out my fasts, but I've noticed that when I'm in the middle of a creative project, I don't really eat as much because I'm so focused on my creation. And I'm not making goddamn iPads, you know? I'm not pushing a team of thousands of employees to get together to make the App Store work better. Totally different reality. Anyone knows when you serve your purpose, when you're really in flow state, food is the least of your concerns. But getting back to high fructose diets and fructose in general. When it comes to fructose as the sugar in fruits from a whole, raw, uncooked fruit, it is the fastest digesting food that we have. It's the fastest digesting food we consume. So one thing people need to do is if it comes from science, if it's data that comes from scientism, you really need to look into what it is that they're saying, because people will start to read a word like fructose and they start treating high fructose corn syrup the same as eating a fresh watermelon. We could all test this on ourselves too. Go eat a watermelon and put the stopwatch on and then see how quick it is before you're running to the bathroom. Now I want you to eat mashed potatoes and chicken, God forbid, and tell me when the next time you use the bathroom is. I'll wait. 2 days later, like when... Meat takes 3 fucking days to digest in the body. 3. Do you understand when meat is in a dark, warm environment covered in bacteria? You know what that leads to? Rot. It starts to putrefy in the gut, which makes it available for parasites. On the other hand, you consume juice with ginger in it and turmeric root and lemon and grapefruit, and you will be pushing the parasites out of you that got into you because you ate the flesh or drank the milk or ate the cheese. Food should not be sitting in the body for a day, 2 days, sometimes 3 days. Sometimes people take 6 days to pass stool. Like, I mean, come on. That's what a lot of people are dealing with in this world. So I really have nothing to say about the dangers of fructose. There is no dangers. But if you're talking about processed food, if you're talking about high fructose corn syrup, then of course you're talking about processed food. But the fructose in a lemon is not the same as the high fructose corn syrup that you're getting in a pre-packaged bottle of soda or whatever. It's not the same world at all. Got a super chat from Moon Trader, sending you lots of love. You said, "Thank you, Waters. You seem very knowledgeable in hermetics. Any thoughts on ceremonial magic?" Honestly, no. I don't have a whole lot to offer when it comes to ceremonial magic because I don't do it. And I'm not really interested in it. And the reason why, Moon Trader, is because I believe magic is on demand, instantaneously, wherever you are, no matter what the moon is doing or what the sun is doing or what outfit you're wearing or where Mercury is. I don't think magic should be ceremonial. I don't think we need to have saging the room and candles and all this extra stuff. I don't think we need to draw a circle around our house in salt like Aleister Crowley was doing. And it's just, ceremonial magic shows you that you're weak in the mind. You're weak in spirit and soul. And you need all these extra materials of the matrix to support you. You need these accessories to support you to be able to do the thing. And that right there shows a weakness. You don't need all of these things to make magic happen. Now, of course, there is magic that the body does, like creating babies. You do need the body to be in a certain stage to be able to pull that off. We all know this with women and their menstrual cycle. So, I mean, when it comes to trying to make a baby at a certain time, you can't just do that whenever, but we have seen miracles when it comes to age. Women that are way out of, or men that are way out of the range of when that could be possible, and they make it happen. And they're not special people doing a ceremonial ritual. They're just fucking. And that's the most amazing magic humans could do, by the way, is make people. Think about it. Women grow babies in their wombs. Talk about a goddamn magic trick. That's a fucking miracle. And nobody even cares. Nobody even honors it anymore. We honor the doctor and the whole process of birth more. We get the birth certificate. We take the baby's foot and put some ink on it and get a little footprint. We're like, oh, that's cute. Cut the umbilical cord way too early. Everything we do is wrong. But that's the most beautiful magic we do. We make people. A lot of people abuse that magic. A lot of people don't even know that is magic, but it is. So yeah, I Moon Trader, I honor the people that consider to learn about it if they're inspired and interested in ceremonial magic, but I don't want to limit myself in any way, shape, or form to what's material to be able to pull off what I want to do. I know that the mind is all. You brought up Hermeticism, right? The mind is all. And we are in a matrix, and I'm in this matrix perceiving this physical reality because I have a central nervous system. I was jacked into the simulacrum through that central nervous system. It makes light slower and light faster in some ways. We could call stuff material. We could call stuff etheric, whatever words you want to use. But I think one of the most dangerous things of the new age especially is this whole like full moon and Mercury and retrograde and all of this, and then using that as part of the blame game. Or saying I am this way because of this thing. Now, I get it. The moon does influence behavior. Look at what we see every full moon. Crime goes up, more traffic accidents, more fights breaking out, people act crazy. That's why they call you a lunatic after Luna. Right? But when you have this true awareness of what's going on here, you know that you're the one that controls the moon. You're the one that controls the sun. They are subordinate to you. That's what the Horus story and the Dionysus story and the Krishna story and all of those stories of every single so-called prophet who came here to be a sacrifice to man, who also coincidentally was born of a virgin birth and three kings to the east on a particular day. We call it December 25th. And then, you've heard it before, right? Well, many, many people for thousands of years before the Jesus Christ guy has the same exact story. It's pretty fascinating, the plagiarism and how successful it was, yet people still believe in it. But now that that's aside, that's you. You are the son of gods. Those gods are your parents. That's all. You are made of their salts, and they are made of those salts that came before them. And that is being passed on like a baton through DNA. And this is why the elite don't mix bloodlines and why they're so serious about that. It's not a game to them. But guess what? You want to know why the elite need ceremonial and ritual magic? You want to know why? Because they have no love. They have no love. Love creates. Fear cannot create. Fear slows down creation and prevents creation. But love creates. So when you move on to the right team, the team that's team creation, you start to see that the other team has set up a way of manipulating your thoughts, manipulating your choices to make you anti-life. They literally called the most powerful book of the New Age the Bible. Bi is to, bull. Male, to male, to masculine. Last time I checked, 2 guys can't fucking make a baby. So that's pretty interesting. But no one questions that. Because all of this New Age is anti-life. It's anti-physical life. And it's pro-simulated technological life. That's why the way that the Piscean age ends is with things like artificial intelligence and this augmented reality and robots. Physical life, physical matter with no soul in it. And that's why I'm telling everyone, you got to be cautious with all this AI stuff. It's fun, play around with it, but at best, just play around with it. Because when you start leveraging on that and calling that creation, well, guess what? You just allowed something with no soul to create for you. I'm just telling you, it's a slippery slope. Just a warning. I know it's fun. I know it's really fun to listen to Snoop Dogg sing the happy birthday song in a French accent. I know it's really funny. I know you guys like it. I know you guys like seeing pictures of Donald Trump getting tackled to the ground and arrested. But that shit's gonna die real quick. It's gonna have a momentary glimpse of life to it, and then once it's done what it was here to do, which is to take over the whole creative spirit of man, well, then it'll accomplish its biggest and intentional goal. The only goal it ever had was to get you to be anti-life and support anti-life, to support Bible, 2 bulls, to support Torah, Taurus, the bull. Speaking of, let's look at this very interesting document we have here called the Talmud. Have you guys ever read this? The shit that this thing talks about? I'm not allowed to say too much of this, but you guys could read, right? You're readers. This is a good one. So I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm not even going to pretend. Sanhedrin 54b in the Talmud. Whew. Okay. Yeah. You guys see what this says? So you read the top part, right? It says, therefore, just as one who engages in intercourse actively is not liable if he is less than 9 years old as the intercourse of a child who does not have the halakhic status of intercourse, so too, if a child who is less than 9 engages in homosexual intercourse passively, the one who engages in the intercourse with him is not liable. Do you see what I'm seeing? Do you know what that's saying? Yeah. Go read this whole thing. It's incredible. If you want to see some incredible text, some incredible information, go check out the Talmud. But basically what I just read right there is that intercourse with children below the age of 9 is acceptable. And not only just any type of intercourse, but homosexual intercourse. And now you know what the rabbis are up to when it gets a little lonely. Doesn't that shit make you sick to read? And by the way, this whole thing is just debates between rabbis, basically trying to come up with the solution to the better way of treating a crime or a punishment, or what would be the more proper thing to do in a certain scenario. And a lot of people consider it to be the guidebook of Judaism. And it goes into detail, you know, like tons of details. It's fucking sickening. Jared before said good exit from that failed squat. To be fair, that's very true though. I agree. Worldwide Sports Highlights said, I have found my all-time favorite channel. Hands down, you're the man, Waters. Oh, it really means the world to me, man. I appreciate you. Nine said, is possible ego an asset? So you're asking, is ego an asset? No, ego is part of the bank. Like, ego is your banker. You own the bank. Ego is like the guy, it's the bank teller. Ego is the guy who's writing loans. Ego isn't even an asset. It's not gold or silver or money. It's the guy who comes up to it's the Federal Reserve. It's just the thing that prints the money out of thin air. The ego shows up out of thin air and it tries saving us all the time. And we just never tap in or listen to it. We misuse it. We abuse ego. And the reason is because we're nervous all the time. We're like walking around like there's always going to be some enemy or some problem. Dustin said Water should release only one physical album of your music like Wu-Tang and only accept Zcash for it. Yo, so Dustin, I actually watched a quick documentary about that guy, Martin Shkreli. Is that his name? Martin? Is it Martin? Shkreli? It's some shit like this. Shkreli? Can I get a Shkreli? Can I get a Shkrel? He almost sounds like a rapper, right? Like if you didn't look at his face. Yo, my name's Shkreli. I thought it said that he went to Hunter Biden College. I was like, whoa. Is that a thing? Oh shit, my boy's from my boy's from fucking Brooklyn. Brooklyn in the house? I forgot he was from Brooklyn. Alright, I get it. All right, my boy Martin Shkreli from Hunter Biden, New York. This some Jewy. No, I'm sorry. Yo, we got to be let's be very clear about all this stuff. We're not. Shout out to the Jews. I don't have anything against y'all. Most of you are harmless. A lot of you are just like all the Christians and the Muslims and stuff. You have things that are honorable that you practice with your families and it's valuable. That's my whole thing is Zionism. Zionism is the thing that runs this world. It's a mind parasite, and Judaism and Zionism are not the same thing. So when we call stuff out, And there's going to be a little piece inside of you that's going to want to think that we're talking about the Jews, and we're not. We're just not. It's not the case. The founders of the state of Israel and all of the people that operate as prime ministers or the leadership, let's just call it, of Israel, those are Zionists. The people who created the Federal Reserve System, those are Zionists. The people that operate and run Hollywood and the music industry, they are Zionists. The people that, everything that runs everything, it's not the Jews. They're not the problem. What's going on here, Baruch College? Bernard Baruch. See, this guy's a Zionist. Go look up Bernard Baruch. What the hell's going on here? Somebody asks, are Satan and Saturn the same thing? See, first of all, Satan is incredibly confusing because nobody really knows what it is that they're agreeing on here about what even that is. You feel me? We have some people call it Beelzebub. You know, like it's like this guy has a million names. So when people are thinking about what Satan is, the closest thing that I could tell you to what that archetype would be Jupiter. Zedek. It would be Zeus. So that is Baal or Hadad. Okay, I can't spend too much time on that though. But no, it's not Saturn. Bernard Baruch, my boy, amassed a fortune on the New York Stock Exchange. He impressed President Woodrow Wilson by managing the nation's economic mobilization into World War I as a chairman of the War Industries Board. I wonder who was on that board. Let me guess. All Zionists. Let's look these guys up. I don't think I've ever heard of Mr. Robert Brookings. Interesting. Very, very interesting people we got here. It's only lasted a couple years. The War Industries Board. Oh, he also advised the Paris Peace Conference. And would you look at that? He foresaw the Wall Street crash of 1929 and sold out in advance. My boy's a wolf. He was following the moon. I wonder how he knew that the market would crash. I wonder. Let's go back to that good old time. Well, like we had in 2020, the market crashed right before going into a Shemitah year. That's shocking. Right after the roaring 20s. Remember we used to talk about that? I was talking about how from 9/11, from 9/11 until we had the WHO declare the pandemic in 2020 in March, that was the roaring 20s cycle. We had one moment that was pretty devastating. It was the housing market crash in 2008. But besides that, we had a technological boom. We had debt being lent out like hand over fist. People could live like kings and queens with no skills, with barely any job. I mean, amazing. Then once 2020 comes around the corner, boom, hit them with a pandemic. And what happened in 1918? We had the Spanish flu. Right before we had the start of the roaring 20s. Interesting. And instead of a stock market crash that sustained into a depression like we had in 1929, we went into a parabolic bull run where the stock market is still to this day at all-time highs. You know what's really funny? Somebody sent me a video of people showing that Donald Trump talking about how Biden would crash the economy, and then there's like it cuts to a video of the analysts over at some sort of financial news channel, like I don't know. I don't watch any of that shit, but somebody sent me this video and they were like laughing because the stock market hit an all-time high, and they were like kind of trying to say that Biden was the reason. And I was thinking to myself, like, holy shit, are people that blank consciously that they believe a president has anything to do with the stock market? Pretty amazing. Oh yeah, so we were talking about Martin Shkreli. So Shkreli, maybe you guys know about him. He basically, I think, and I might be wrong here, but he purchased a pharmaceutical company that was selling a HIV medication, and then he increased the price by 5,455%. He turned it into Shiba Inu. He said, "You know what, mother? I'm gonna hyperinflate this thing." He made it $750 a pill. I wonder where Mr. Shkreli learned that tactic. Perhaps at Baruch College. Oh, he only got 7 years in prison. Cody asks, do you stop exercising or weightlifting during an extended fast? No, I recommend you definitely want to do resistance training during a fast, especially if it's a extended water fast or if it's a dry fast. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people make on a dry fast is they don't work out. I'm not telling you to try to hit a PR, by the way. Like, I'm not telling you to go into a gym like fucking balls to the walls 45 minutes with no breaks trying to set your personal record. Like, you do enough to just stimulate the body, get it into that state where you're getting close to burning out, and then stop. You don't push yourself at all, but you do utilize that first 20 to 30 minutes where you have that energy and put it into that workout. Thank me later. You're going to be doing so many things if you do this. You're going to be doing so much for your HGH, especially if you're a man, Cody. Like, human growth hormone will shoot through the roof, but there'll be a lot of other hormonal things that'll take place. My goodness, isn't this what we're watching right now so beautiful? Iceland, what a beautiful place. There's a lot of talk in the comments below about this one diet being better than the other diet, the carnivore, the vegan, or the... Here's the thing, family. All of that, it's all anecdotal. People are going to say, I saw someone doing the carnivore diet at 70 and they looked like they were 25. And we see the same example with somebody who says that they've been raw plant-based vegan. I mean, that shit doesn't matter. There's genetics involved in this. There's hormones. There's the current the gut microbiome. There's how long have they been doing this for. So when we have extreme diets, which I would consider raw vegan to be one of, and then another one would be carnivore, even though raw vegan is much more in alignment with the human physiology. With these more extreme diets, the sustainability is incredibly low. Like, how long somebody could do it. It's very, very, very short term. And why you're seeing effects on either of these changes is because you've effectively cut out so many other things. When you go to a whole food plant-based diet, or when you go to a carnivore diet, you're removing all the extra shit that you used to consume. And you're isolating down to a couple of things. Just by doing that is going to be more in alignment with the human physiology. We're pretty much the only animal in nature that is doing what we do with its food. We're the only animal that is growing foods in one part of the world and then harvesting it and sending it over to another part of the world, and then you're cooking it and seasoning it and doing all this extra shit before you even consume it. So when people try saying that one diet is better than the other diet, it's not the truth at all. That's why I don't promote veganism. I don't promote any ism or ist or tell people to be extreme about it. But the human physiology is clear as day what you should do. Look at the jaw structure. Look at the length of the intestines. Look at the pH of your stomach acids. I mean, you could list it all day of this stuff. Look at the way your jaw opens, jaw structure, teeth structure. We're not designed to be going up to a bison and biting it on the side with our teeth through its body, shredding into it, and then instantly eating the flesh raw. That's just not it's not how the body was created of a human being. So what we are is choicists. We have something called food choice. And there's going to be the debate all day, left and right, of which is the better one. Study the body's physiology. Stop just listening to random people on the internet, and just consider the way we're built compared to the way all the other things are built, and just look at why they're eating the way they eat. You don't see a fucking giraffe running after a faster animal than it to try to bite it on its somewhere randomly on its body in hopes that it's going to be able to kill that animal soon enough before it fights back and kills it. And then you see the giraffe drag off the carcass into a safe place so that it could sit there and let it ferment for a little before it starts going for the rest of the meal. No, you see every animal just eats the way it's designed, according to its body. And we're the only animal that does otherwise because we have food choice. If you live in Norway right now, you can eat a banana. That should blow your fucking mind. Why are you eating a banana if you live in Norway? And then again, people are going to say the stuff about the carnivore diet, and they're going to be like, it lowered my inflammation. It did. Let's see how long that sustains for. And then let's see the attitude and the vibe of the person after doing that for so long. Because the one thing you're disregarding, that you're consuming, that you're not going to hear about in science, or you're not going to hear about in anyone's anecdotes, is the truth of truths. That if you want to eat like that, you're consistently consuming adrenochrome. When something is about to die, that has blood running through its body, it releases those hormones before it dies. And every creature wants to live, just like you want to live. That's what animals go through all day when they're being tortured so that people could eat cheeseburgers. The animal gets tortured until the moment it's killed, and then the adrenaline at the moment of death seeps into the bloodstream, and it now spreads like a virus throughout all the nooks and crannies of the flesh, no matter what part of the body it is, because that's how powerful the pituitary and pineal gland and the whole glandular system is. The fear now goes from skull all the way to the tips of their toes and fingers, just like your body does. It is no different. And now that adrenochrome is in your meat. So have fun with your carnivore diet. I don't know what else to tell you. But if that's the kind of shit you're into, I don't know, man. It's a moral dilemma for sure. Nikolai says, is there an alternative to coconut water? Of course. Just eat fruits. And enjoy distilled water if you're into drinking plain water like that. Although I wouldn't recommend it. I think people need to be cautious with overly consuming water the way that they were programmed to. You know, this whole gallon of water a day thing, I think that's extremely dangerous for the human body. You're putting a stress on your kidneys. Got to be careful with that. We could see some people with an incredible diet, but they're drinking way too much pure water, and that is preventing the lymphatic system from effectively or the lymph filtering through the kidneys, because it's putting such a stress on the kidneys. Maybe we could change this up. We got Croatia over here or some shit. Let me see. Got about 700 people with us. It's all love. If you just walked in, it's probably a little spicy for some people. Rhonda, you brought up child labor. Are you talking about with Apple? Let me look. I'm seeing the comments here. I could gather a couple things and I could see. Said Steve Jobs belonged to, and then the Illuminati logo. Rhonda said Steve was a puppet. Let me see. Got some more. Penguin P. Nobody said that it takes 6 days to digest meat. We said 2 to 3, and that is a fact. Just looking through some of the comments. Yeah, so getting back to the whole Steve Jobs thing, it's like the point here is that disruptors and innovators are people we rarely get to speak to. And I'm personally practicing for myself to not speak on other creators, even if I do know what club they're a part of or what team they're playing for, any of that stuff. You know, you guys could kind of feel out where I'm at with my honor code here. Because I can make assumptions all day, but it doesn't mean that it should prevent me to exploring my own capabilities and reducing or completely removing any limiting beliefs that I would have. Because I'm able to get inspired by anything, even if it is seemingly what other people would call evil. We're getting back to this whole Steve Jobs thing and people saying he's like in the Illuminati or whatever. Right, but we're not here to put every person on the scale of good and evil. We're not here to put everyone on the scale of right and wrong. All we are here to do is what we are here to do. And I think a lot of the time we're not able to tap into inspiration in life because we spend so much time judging the way other people live. And all I know is that once I stopped doing that shit and stopped trying to figure out, is this person in the club or this person in the club or this person a puppet or this person, when I got rid of all of that and I just started seeing it for what it was, that I can resonate with something and not believe in it entirely, and I get to walk away like a bumblebee, like a bee leaves the flowers with pollen, that changed my fucking life. I'm now able to tap into stuff and people, like interviews from 50 years ago I could watch of people that I don't really care too much about, but they have some wisdom to share. So that's really what I'm about here. That's what we're about here. Because you're going to see these big names get brought up like Kanye and Alex Jones and Joe Rogan, and everyone wants to know, were they the good guy or the bad? And like, that shit doesn't serve us here. It's, are you able to get inspired by something, or does it not inspire you? And if it doesn't inspire you, then great. But if other people are able to get inspired by it, then what's the point of bringing up that what they're inspired by somehow has some connection to something nefarious? I mean, really? We don't know anything about your life. When you leave the house, is there a team of people with cameras fucking barraging you, being like, oh, look over here, I gotta... No, because you're not famous. You're probably not that important in the grand scheme of things. On the soul level, you're all G's. But let's be real here. Nobody, when you get outside of your car, there's no team of people taking fucking pictures of you. So imagine when you're at that level, at the Kanye or Alex Jones or Joe Rogan level, where you're so well known that you're a household name. Like, Joe Rogan's not talking about waters above right now. Joe Biden isn't talking about waters above right now. We're talking about them. They get all the prana. And I learned that there's like this prana bank that we're working with here, and it's invisible and we don't even realize it. So why waste my energy on judgment and calling this person good or bad when I could just see, oh, that person's inspiring and that person's not? And what inspires me does not need to inspire you. I hope it doesn't, because if you only cared about what was inspiring to me, then you'd probably be boring to me. What I like about other people is not what we agree on or what we both enjoy. What I like about other people is when you could show me that you're a unique individual. I don't want people to agree with me. That doesn't fucking concern me. And like Steve Jobs, if I just had everyone worshiping the whole time, then how the fuck would we make any change? How do you get people to do things they didn't know they could do? Like, isn't that the most inspirational thing? That's across the board, the experience everyone had with Steve. They hated him, but they admired him. He was like Machiavelli. Because you can't hate the guy that brought out more of you. You could call him an asshole. You could say he's fucking mean. But he made you better. Because you didn't want to make yourself better. And he saw potential in you. He saw that deep down inside of you, there's a fucking champion. And he needed to pull that out of you. Because you didn't want to pull that out of yourself. And he had to do that with a bunch of fucking nerds. I mean, damn. I think people need to see it for that, because that's what I see. In my field, I see so many beautiful, incredibly talented, intellectual, conscious beings that are depressed, that are feeling like failures, that are feeling like they can't do something. So I have to be the one that reaches into them and reminds them. It's really no different. Los T, I appreciate your super chat. You said I had a spiritual awakening, which has increased my riz to like 100, but now I feel tired all the time, and I could see things in people that make me want to stay away from them. Well, like when you're in your process of expanding consciously, you're going to start to realize other people's aura. You're going to start to realize what other people are truly about. You start to see the actor behind the mask, if you will. You also see their script. So when you start to wake up, you realize that every day is Halloween. Every day humanity puts on a costume when they walk outside of their house. They love the costume. They feel comfortable with the costume on. And you've finally taken off the veil. You could see through it now. So you can taste their spirit when they don't even realize they are spirit. You realized you're a spiritual being having a physical experience, and 99.99% of humanity thinks that they're just purely a spiritual being, purely a physical being. Excuse me. I am so in awe of what we're looking at right now. I almost have to look away because it's so beautiful, this place. I don't know where the hell in Switzerland we're looking at right now, but wow. This is, obviously a petrified tree that we're looking at. Anyways, so when you're in your process of expanding consciously, you realize, without a doubt, you are a spiritual being having a physical experience, and you're surrounded by 99.99% humanity that is just trapped in identity consciousness. They think they are their body, their name, and that is it. Their value is their job they have. Their value is their skill they have. But all of the spiritual essence of them is unknown. Now, what happens with you at this stage is you have to know how to now work with that change in temperature. When you start getting close to people now, you're going to feel the room get hotter. And you're going to need to know how to equilibrate, how to get it back to room temp. And the way you do that is, I mean, obviously you could avoid, but I challenge you to not avoid. Next time when you're around somebody that seems like an NPC, I want you to actually take away all the judgment and consciously try to share where you're at with your experience in life without flexing, without trying to say that, look at what you know. But show them that you could listen to them. Not just hear what they're saying, but actually try to listen to them. Be vulnerable with them. Take risks with them. And you'd be surprised, deep inside of everyone, there's this free soul that has been waiting to be treated like a free soul. Because the Matrix treats them like they're a instrument of the Matrix. I've done this so many times, like on Uber rides and, just random connections that I've had with somebody at a cafe. Just try it out. Watch. Most people aren't actually as asleep as you might think. And you'd never know until you actually allow them to be something more than just the Halloween costume that they put on today. Show people that you actually are treating them like they're a person. When you go into the grocery store, instead of going through the self-checkout, go actually walk through the line that has a cashier. And when you're going through that line, don't even wait. Instantly engage with the person who's the cashier and say, "How's your day going?" And give eye contact. Make real eye contact to look at them. Show them that you care. And then before you leave, again, make eye contact. And say something to them that makes them feel like you're friendly, not just buy. Tell them that you appreciate them. And you'll just see the shift in frequency in this person because you, for one, finally, somebody out of all these people that they rung up today, you finally treated that person like they were a person. Not just a fucking ATM or a robot. See, it's funny, like we're anti-robot a lot of the time, but a lot of the time we're treating people like they're fucking robots. Don't you think that's a little weird? Like how many times you go to a cafe, walk up to the barista and you treat them like they're not even alive. You're just like, give me a fucking coffee, basically. That's how I've seen it all the time. You go to any major city in this world and that's pretty much the interaction that you see. And it's draining to a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to be treated like that. But that's just the expectation. Somebody's talking about the part of the Bible saying made in God's image. What it's saying is that your eyes are cameras. You are the divine witness. You are literally God's camera. Oh my God, yeah. Kanye said this one time and it was big moment for me. I had to pause my thoughts for a while and just meditate on what he was saying. But Kanye said that we're God's iPhone. And I was like, this motherfucker right here. Even surprising me sometimes. But that's it. Hey, we are made in the image of Elohim, of the gods. We are God's camera. We are the witness of all. You are the universe. Without you, nothing exists. Close your eyes, you see nothing. Your imagination can create things that it's already seen. But if I told you to close your eyes and start, seriously, let's just try it right now. Let's try it right now. Everyone close their eyes. Now picture an elephant. I mean, it works every time. So when they said God said, let there be light, they're just talking about speaking frequency into existence, but it's motivating in a sense. I said, picture an elephant. There's no fucking elephant in your room, but you can see one now. So it's thoughts generating this imagination, which is then brought into the tangible world as inventions. The mind of man brings into being all the things. We named all the things. The reason it's called an elephant is because a human mind thought that up. And before it was called elephant in English, it was something else in Latin, and then that was something else in some other. You see where I'm going with this? The whole nomenclature is the mind of man. So yes, we are made in God's image because we are God. We are literally God's camera. You are witness. That's all you are. Cloud Watcher said, who's behind NAMBLA? Well, you know the answer to that. I believe, is George Soros the #1 funder of that? But pretty mind-blowing, man. Like, it's not even new stuff like that. There's some old shit that's, yeah. Love Stonks says, I can't wait for your Year of the Dragon Decode. Yes, I will have it out. I'm planning, I think I have the release date, and it's going to either be February 1st or February 2nd. So that's my release date. I'm aiming for either of those days. I'm cooking it up in the background. It will be ready soon. But remember, I have this decoding mastermind course that I'm working on right now. It has about 450 slides. So at launch, it's going to be, it's going to have so much gnosis. I can't wait to get this out. So anyone who is interested in that, I will be launching that early access with the Patreon member discount and a early access discount on top of that for the Patreon supporters. So anyone who's interested in that decoding mastermind course, by becoming a Patreon supporter, pretty much the discount that you'd be getting on this course would be covering close to half a year of your Patreon membership. So I think this is the most valuable way to package this all together, and I'm really stoked. I think this is going to be groundbreaking in so many ways. It's going to lead to many conversations, and I can't wait to share it because I think a lot of you are going to be able to tap into some stuff that maybe I haven't even seen. And that's an amazing relationship to have with everyone. I love when people send me over some things that even I haven't heard of. And then I'm like, damn, I never thought about that before. Like somebody, what was it, a couple weeks ago, they sent this one letter or character, I should call it, in the Japanese alphabet characters. And it looked exactly like a logo or a symbol that, I forgot who it was, but that was awesome. And it's practicing what are the symbols here, not just looking at everything in the way that we were told what it means, actually going and just looking at the symbols and decoding it that way, because you can do that with all of the alphabet. Anyway, yep, I will have that Decoding Mastermind out hopefully soon, but that Year of the Dragon Decoded will be available start of February over at patreon.com/watersabove. And then tomorrow I will have a new podcast coming out, Red Pill Podcast, covering everything that's went down in the market since last week. We are on fire lately, so it's been amazing to watch 6 months of hard work come to life over a freaking couple days, right? Like crazy. So yeah, we have a lot to get into tomorrow. I'm excited. One with Nature said, I just learned what they do. Oh yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. Tiffany Zane says, hey Jordan, did you come out with your course yet about fasting, ways of eating? So Tiffany, you didn't dream it all up. It's already out and it's completed. It's called the Expansion Mastermind Course. So you go over to watersabove.com, which is written at the base of this video. And then you're going to scroll down to Expansion Mastermind. You could press buy now if you just want to see everything that's covered inside of this course. Of course, you don't have to buy it, but I'm just saying, if you want to see all of the lessons that are covered, you can go over to Overview, press the drop-down menu, and then when you get to 7 and 7 Part 2, you'll see that there's well over 20 videos covering everything about fasting, detoxification, healing, reducing inflammation, and even going to the lengths of talking about meal preparation, meal planning, and ideas for this new lifestyle. So that's all covered in that, and that's just a part of the course. It builds up to that particular chapter, because I feel like before we skip straight to food and diet, we should build some foundation so that when you get there, it starts to actually make sense and it could be applicable without all the extra questions that are involved, because we're looking at consumption spiritually. We're not just looking at it solely based on the data of scientism. We're trying to look at it from a conscious perspective and aligning it with other truths that are important to set the foundation. Utility Maximalist says, is Zcash shit? Yes. Actually, this is the only time I'm going to pull up a chart. Let's go to Zcash. This is going to be hilarious. I'm not going to point out who's been promoting this thing, because I'm not going to do anyone dirty like that. And I respect, and what the hell am I doing? It's like ZEC ticker, right? All right, here we are. Yeah, I mean, I'll just let the chart speak for itself, but there's some people out there that promote this thing, whilst at the same time talking a lot of smack about XRP. And just to give people the rundown on Zcash, so over here was your C19 crash. Okay, look at where Zcash is trading today. I mean, it just recently made another all-time low. Oh my God. So on the day Bitcoin is almost hitting 50K, this thing just went to another lower low in what has been a never-ending bear market. So this coin is in price discovery to the downside. And, I just want to talk to this for a second, not to go against anyone's truth or this particular decoder's truth, because I'm not about drama and this isn't about competition or starting any conflict. It's just when you come out and say things like this is going to be the investment of a lifetime, and you're so matter of fact about everything, and you don't take a moment to show people what it is you're even talking about, this is like the definition of snake oil. Like, if you, okay, I want to remove myself as much as possible here. If you guys spent maybe 20 minutes on any technical analysis channel, let's just say you didn't even know who the hell I was. You didn't watch a single Waters Above video, okay? I'm going to give that benefit of the doubt. Let's say you learned all of your TA from whoever, and I'm sure there's many analysts that are 10 times better than me. I'm going to go out on record and say that too. They're way more accurate than I am and better at whatever. I'll say that, okay? Now, you've been following along their channel. You watch maybe 20, 30, maybe an hour, all right, of their content. You've gathered enough information to now determine what would be a good or bad investment. And one of the things you would do in that case is you'd pull up a chart and you'd see what's the history of this project, right? What has this thing been doing all these years? I hear this guy saying it's good. I hear this guy saying that it's going to make you rich. And then you pull up the chart for yourself, and because you know 1% of what's needed to know about TA, you would look at this and say, oh my God, this is an absolute shit coin. This is not even shit. This is like toilet paper coin. It's not even toilet paper. It's like, this is like you ran out of toilet paper. This is like you explosive diarrhea, ran out of toilet paper coin. Okay? That's what this is. Because when Bitcoin when we go back to this time, and I like Bitcoin as an example, because Bitcoin is the highest market cap, it's traded the longest, it has the most chart history, it has the longest time, whatever you want to call it. Bitcoin was trading under $4,000 at this time right here in March 2020. We're coming up on the fourth anniversary of this event, by the way, very soon, in just a couple months. Zcash is still trading at the same level that it was when Bitcoin was trading at $3,000 fucking dollars. Okay, so if we do some maths, let's just say, like, what would be a decent investment for the average person just getting into crypto that is starting to take it seriously? Like, for very, very new people, I think it should be probably 100 to 500 is like very new. Like, you're just learning about it off the streets and you are just convinced, probably at the top of a bull run. Then you start getting savvy and you look up some channels, you watch a couple TA analysts, maybe you even find my work. Then I would say the range is like in the 1,000 to 5,000, maybe a little bit more. And then, of course, the higher your net worth, the more risk you're willing to take. But let's just say, okay, you went all in. You went all in on Bitcoin at $4,000, and you decided to buy a Bitcoin. Now, I know that's highly unlikely at that time. Nobody really did that, but it's just to give an example, okay? You have 4,000 in Bitcoin this time. So you own one Bitcoin. Now your Bitcoin is worth this much money. It's worth $42,800. Okay? Now if you bought Zcash, it would be the same price that it is as it was. No, really nothing has happened in 4 years except a perpetual downtrend, and it's recently just went lower. So let's make this example more local. Let's say you bought Bitcoin on January 1st of 2023. Let's give the example. We're trying to be nice here, by the way. I'm trying to be a nice guy. Let's say you bought Bitcoin on January 1st. You'd be up 156%. Okay? Just think about 156. Now, if you bought Zcash on January 1st, you'd be down almost 40%. This thing has never really had a chance to make you feel okay about the investment. So I'm confused. Either I'm confused, but I was hearing the reason why is because Zcash was created by somebody who has a 28 birthday date numerology. Now, and that apparently comes back to wealth and finances, but we should not get too judgmental and critical here, because there is truths to some of this. Now, the number 28 is probably one of the most powerful numbers. I'm not going to lie. First and foremost, it's 2 plus 8 is going to add 10, so it returns you back to the 1, right? And 10 is the sequence of how all money works. You have a dime, then you have the dollar, then you have the $100. This 10 sequence is moving you up to the next increment, right? That's one way to look at it. The next thing that's really powerful is it's a number of creation, because when you're growing inside of your mom's womb, you're not in it for 9 months, you're in it for 10 moons, 10 moons, okay? This brings you back to the ones and zeros, which is the binary code. I get super deep into this in the Decoding Mastermind. So when any number comes back to the 10, then you could see its power right there, coming back to creation. Money is all just thoughts. Money is thought. It's imagination that you took action on. That's all it is. It's fairy dust. Like they say in the Wolf of Wall Street movie, right? Fugazi. It's just right. Real quick, I'm gonna answer this super chat for Shitcoin Steve. I appreciate you, brother. You said, my girlfriend often yells at me and we disagree about the source of anger. Claims her anger is a medical mirror, but I often perceive it as trauma. Thoughts? Well, first of all, Steve, maybe you need to realize that if you're trying to make her agree with you or see where you're coming from, that could be why she's giving you that pushback. You know, let's be real here, and I think it's fair to say, like, some people, not just women, but some people are very stubborn about listening to someone else's truth or allowing their side of the story. So even if you are telling them the truth, it doesn't matter. It's like yelling at the flowers, telling them to grow. It's not going to work. So you need to make her more comfortable with what she's going through. And Steve, you very well could be right. It could be some sort of past trauma, some unresolved trauma, right? But you need to make her feel comfortable to be willing to share that with you. And you're never going to accomplish that if you're on the scales of agree and disagree. I tell very quickly where someone is at in their level of consciousness by how quickly they are to say that they disagree. I'll say that again. And I know that's a judgmental thing to say, but it's a little more advanced in the process, because remember what I'm doing in this world versus what maybe a race car driver is doing, right? The race car driver needs to go around in circles very fast, and I have to get people to tell me why they don't want to be here right now. Why are they always there, and why are they always trying to be there? So it's a powerful skill that I've mastered, is getting people to be vulnerable. And I could only do that, Steve, by me being vulnerable too. I have to become the same temperature and liquid and structure of what that person refuses to try to be. I need to put in that energy first, right? Especially as a man, you need to learn how to do this with your woman. Nobody ever wants to be told that they're wrong, first and foremost. But what I was saying moments ago is I could tell someone's state of consciousness very quickly by how quick they are to say they disagree. Once somebody reveals that that's their energy to me, then I know how to work with them. I switch up. I'm like a fucking chess player, all right? But again, that's my purpose, right? So I might be able to get your girlfriend to reveal this stuff super quickly, because I know how to work with that energy. And clearly with you guys, it's kind of at this place right now where it's this tug of war between the I'm right, you're wrong, I'm the one who's wrong, you're the one who's right. That you're never going to get anything accomplished with this energy, okay? So the solution here. By the way, I love leaving up the Zcash chart because it's fucking hilarious. But Steve, the solution to this is you need to make her feel more comfortable with you. And the only way she's gonna feel more comfortable with you to feel vulnerable sharing those supposed traumas is she needs to feel safer with you. If she can feel more safe with you, then you'll get an environment to where she can be vulnerable. And the only way to do that is by you showing her that she can feel safe with you and that she could trust you. Because especially with women, they're more willing to tell their girlfriends before they'll tell you truth. That's a common theme. But the most amazing relationships are the ones where you're willing to divulge the most to the people, to the person who's your partner. Try this. Instead of going into this conversation about the you know what's right thing, try to work on you being vulnerable about why you think you're right, but don't fucking say that you're right. Why do you think you're right in real world examples, but be vulnerable in what you've experienced to then unlock that vulnerability in her? Moon Trader, I got a super chat from you. I appreciate your support. You said a magician's mind is their greatest tool. Any thoughts on astral projection and learning how to induce it consistently, safe or no? Moon Trader, when you're here in the physical and you're conscious, anytime you try to get out of body, you're gonna now tamper with the central nervous system, okay? So this is big because what happens when you do an extended fast, and this is super deep. This is kind of like what we were talking before about the whole adrenochrome thing. It's just something uncomfortable that people don't want to hear. Well, on the other side, when you go into a deep fast and you start having these detox effects, what is going on is your body, well, I'll put it very simply. You are now kind of taking a hammer and just striking it against your central nervous system. You're like sawing the cord between you and spirit realm. When you do this, you now leak into the spirit realm as if you do when you're in the dream state. That's why when you do mushrooms or ayahuasca or these other kind of psychedelics, you can feel present in this body, but you could travel outside of it, because when you do those things, you're literally harming the central nervous system. But that's a good thing if you want a taste of the spirit realm, even though the spirit realm could be quite difficult for a lot of people. So my point here is that astral projection is no different. And if you watch the show Stranger Things, I think it shows you perfectly without hiding shit. Like, it shows you straight up. Every time Elle uses her powers, she has a nosebleed. This is them showing you what's up. So every time that you're like floating away from keeping soul in body and you're accessing this astral realm, you're harming the physical body slightly. Every time you use your powers, you notice how every time Elle would use her powers in Stranger Things, she would like collapse or she would fall on the floor, like she would just be so weak. Yeah, because in order to use the power, you need to kind of unplug the fucking cord to this consciousness for a moment, and you have to borrow power from a realm that is much greater than this physical one. The realm that makes this physical one even possible. This is shown to you in cartoons, specifically anime, all the time. Like, you look at Dragon Ball Z and all this shit, this is real stuff, guys. I'm not talking about people just flying around and throwing fucking kamehamehas, but there's a lot of truth sprinkled in that stuff, and we avoid it because we think it's just a kid's show. It's not. Like, it's just not. It's a lot of serious, and these really famous exoteric TV shows also reveal a lot of this truth too. Another great example would be that show, The OA. That's probably I'll call it my favorite show of all time, even though it's incomplete. But what they did complete and what they did share with the world changed me in a lot of ways. Not only did it confirm a lot of intuitive feelings that I had about what we're capable of doing, but it goes into all these other, theories and yeah, I don't want to hype it up too much. Go check it out if you haven't. The OA is amazing, and that dancing sequence that they do and the way that they're able to kind of influence this physical realm and time in general is just so amazing. Like, it's really deep, and I think anyone here who's resonating with what we're talking about will have a really good time watching the OA. It's a Netflix show, unfortunately, but the people who made it were not asleep. They were not like, yeah, you could tell that they know shit. And it's not like cloaked in as much Illuminati kind of Mason symbolism as some other things. Like Stranger Things is 100% created by people who were just being used for their story, and all of it was hijacked to be a mythological story. Like, the story of Stranger Things is 100% mythology, plagiarized mythology. It's the Greek and Roman mythology, which is plagiarized from the Canaanite, Babylonian, Egyptian. And that's why the main character is called El, the Lord, the King of Kings. Anyways, let's move on. I believe I got through a couple of really powerful topics, but we were talking about the Zcash toilet paper coin. And, there's a lot of bad investments out there, but there's very few that are this rough. And I was talking about the number 28. See, the number 28 is powerful with creation in general. Ovulation cycle in women is 28 days. Moon cycle, 28. These 28s are powerful. It's a huge time-oriented number coming back to creation. Remember, time is a physical product. It's not spiritual. Time is not spiritual. Time is physical. It's here for the matrix. When you're spirit and when you're soul and you have no physical body, you have no third dimension and all this shit, there is no time. There's only time in the material realm because we have decay. I'll be getting back into this deeper in the Decoding Mastermind. So, but just coming out with this thing that the person's birthday is the 28, and then, they're able to somehow turn this into investment advice. I mean, it's very confusing, because if you disregard the chart, then you're disregarding the proof of how it's been doing, and then it's purely conspiracy. And we see how dangerous that gets. That conspiracy shit is what's keeping a lot of the XRP people from becoming more sophisticated with their investment thesis. And I know I've been doing my part for the last 3 years to get them to snap out of it. Somebody asks a question: what about the tribes that hunt and eat raw meat? Are they going against the human body or nature? It seems to be sustainable for them and in harmony with nature. But is it? See, this is the thing. We need to realize when we're talking about tribes, what percentage of the group we're talking about here of humanity. And when we talk about tribes, we also have to remind ourselves that these people are not staring at phone screens all day, working 9 to 5 fucking jobs. You don't see somebody who's in a tribe dressing up in a uniform and then driving 45-minute commute to go work at a mall. I don't care about tribes. I don't care about any isolated group of peoples. And if we want to play that game, then just look at blue zones or look at centurions. I mean, there's enough data that shows that when you start eating large percentage of your daily caloric intake in flesh and animal byproducts, that you will die sooner. And every time we bring up some tribal peoples and we just isolate their diet, we're not considering all the other things that they're experiencing. I mean, they don't have technology. They have no distractions. They don't have any TikTok. They don't have any girls shaking their asses on Pornhub. They have nothing. They are out there only getting food all day. And are they even a marker of health? Look at the average life expectancy of most people in tribes. It's like 60 to maybe they'll get to 70. Maybe. And then you look at any change in any of the so-called blue zones, and when you see the inclusion of fast food restaurants, more flesh consumption, more processed food consumption, you see what it does to the population. That's where diseases come out of nowhere. I don't think it makes any sense to research and then utilize what a tribe is doing to somehow better our lives, unless you want to reduce down to everything they're doing. So if you want to get rid of your Wi-Fi, if you want to get rid of your, most people here are invested in crypto. How much more technologically advanced are you than somebody who's in the fucking Hadza tribe? You're not walking around with a bow and arrow fucking shooting antelopes. You're trading fucking XRP coins. You think the diet is our only problem? We're EMF the fuck out in this place, man. People just got to be like open to it all, so that's how I feel about that. It doesn't concern me what else, some isolated, like what whale blubber diet they're eating up there in the Inuit nation, these people are dying at like 50 years old. Ooh, we got to wrap this one up soon. Holy moly. Somebody asks for my thoughts on pescatarian diet, so a diet that's centered around the only flesh being fish. I would say you got to consider what the ocean is. It's a huge dumpster. At one point, it might have been cleaner, but all of that gets absorbed into the bloodstream of the fish, and then it's in the flesh you eat. So, yep, it's just a big toxic garbage. And a lot of the time, the fish that people are getting that they're not catching themselves is just farmed. And if you ever research a farmed fishing operation, you'll see that they're all consuming essentially antibiotics all day. The fishermen are coming over and just throwing in like just buckets of antibiotics. And then they're swimming in an enclosed, isolated, small area. And what are they breathing in? They're breathing in feces from the other fish. You probably all know about this. Even people that go out and fish probably know about this. So I'm not trying to teach anyone here. I'm just, again, reminder. But the ocean is a big toxic garbage, and that gets into the bloodstream of the fish, and then you're dealing with that. And heavy metals are a real thing, consuming large amounts. Rhonda Orenstein said Jordan is by far more valuable than Steve Jobs. Well, Rhonda, I love that. That means a lot to me. I'm not sure how much. I'm not sure if my impact will be as big, but appreciate that. Rhonda says cameras are everywhere now, like the Black Mirror episode. Yeah, well, the cameras and the idea of the cameras being implemented at this scale was wrote about in like the 50s and 60s, I believe. Way before companies like Apple and Samsung even existed. One thing that I think is going to be interesting, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist right now, is what do you guys think about this AI pin mess? We talked about this before. That pin is Pinot, which is pineal. This is all just... Ooh, I don't know. I don't want to show this because I don't know where it's at with the copyright shit. But you guys have seen this before, right? This it's going to project what your phone would out onto your hand. And the people who run this company look like they're like the highest levels of the Church of Satan. Not that I have anything negative to say about Satanists. I mean, if that's what you're into, but like, I don't see life in these people. But yeah, the phone is going to be able to do this. It's going to be able to read to you whatever the shit that your phone has to say. It's going to say, hey, your license has expired. And then you're going to go, fuck, to get my license renewed. Oh my God, don't you look at this. They hide the truth in plain sight. You see the Hamza? So it says Humane revealed details about the first project, the AI pin, earlier today. And it has a Hamza. And obviously the phone is reading the information into the palm. And the Hamza has the eye on the palm. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, I mean, look, you're going to be wearing it like this. And my quick synopsis of, I just think this is going to become surveillance that is at a whole new level. Your phone is going to always be taking first person video footage. Like, is that legal? Like, how is this going to be legal? I seriously don't have an idea how this could be a legal thing. There's going to be countries that ban it. Or not. Or they're just like, fuck it. Well, this is how we were planning on going forth with the agenda anyways, where you're all surveillanced by each other. Now it's no longer that you're being surveillanced by the eye in the sky, if you will, the cameras that are on the street post or the street light or at your traffic stops, or it's not that anymore. It's not on the side of the building. It's literally your fellow citizens are walking around with like camcorders glued to their fucking chest. So, a couple of people brought up Cat Williams. Cat Williams has been going viral lately, right? I got a super chat from Boogaloo Shrimp. I love that name. He said, "Yo, Waters, what's up? I feel like sometimes my thoughts are projected externally, like my issues are being meditated or mediated by those around me. Hits hard when a random stranger says something so close to home, bugs me out." Well, that's the whole like wearing your emotions on your sleeve thing. Like when you're a real one, it's hard to pretend, right? Like the more conscious you become, the less you're hiding. And when you really embody your true, genuine self, you become a light in the room. It's like when you walk into rooms, people are going to feel the temperature change because you might be the only real one in there. So of course they feel it because you're no longer pretending. You're no longer hiding from what you are and what you know and this awareness that you've accessed. So they feel it and they are able to feed off of that energy. And it's definitely amazing. I mean, shit, animals are incredible. Like when your frequency changes, animals start treating you different. I appreciate y'all. We have We have a couple more minutes left. Roger Hill said, bless you, brother. So happy to have found you and on board. Terrific decodes and mind-blowing esoterica, healthy lifestyle tips as well. You mentioned the term guru. You know, Roger, my thing is I want you to be your own guru. That's my purpose. My purpose is to remind man that within you is a fountain of truth, and it's always flowing. And I'm just like, you know, I'm just the guy that when you don't want to wake up in the morning, I walk over to your bed and I rip the sheets off of you. That's it. I just dump the bucket of water on your head when you're a little too comfortable and you don't want to get up and do the work in the morning. But I hope that by doing that, it gets you closer to your truth. I know what you mean, and I appreciate that. But I always remind people that this isn't about me. This is about you. Cody Garcia said, 100% your expansion mastermind is worth every penny. Oh, that really means a lot to me. You said, I'm not finished with it yet because I'm taking my time to understand each lesson. The accountability journal has changed my perspective forever. Damn. Cody, let me know if you enjoy the way that I designed the course, like the steps that work you towards the next phase, you know, like every chapter, if you want to call it. I really put in a lot of thought to that. If I was to create a system to systemize this process, how to sequence it, you know, I put more energy into that than the creation of the course, believe it or not. And that's my methodology. That's one thing I'll say to people who are very creative. Like if you're like a volcano erupting with creative essence, which is very much me, I have a problem. And that problem is I have too many ideas. Too many. So sometimes I don't do them, or I start to get disorganized with my actions. That's why I created that rule of twos, and that's why I give myself deadlines if I can. I know that some projects can't have a deadline, right? It'd be like having a deadline for your baby that's about to be born. It's like your baby picks the day. You can't pick the day you want the water to break. I know science is getting crazy now where they could like dial in the fucking moment your baby, it's crazy, but you know what I mean, in a more natural sense. You want to treat it as if it's a natural creation. And sometimes the matrix gets in the way and you need to come up with tips and strategies. So I was very methodical about my approach of sequencing each chapter inside of the expansion mastermind. I hope you've gotten value out of it. I know you said you have, but I think once you complete it, you know, you'll want to go through it again and you'll feel that same kind of flow state coming back to you that you did once when you did it the first time. That's really what I wanted to do. I didn't want it to be like a one-hit wonder. I wanted to create something that was timeless, where you want to listen to it on repeat sort of thing, like your favorite album. That's how I create. All right, I do have to close this one out. Utility Maximalist said, thanks, Waters, you saved me $6,000 today. Did I? I'm not sure how I did that, but you saved $6,000 yourself. And appreciate you showing up today to the live stream. I don't really think I helped with any of that. Appreciate you guys, though. I got a super chat from Adam Arias. I appreciate you, brother, sending you and the wife and the wolf pup lots of love. You said sending love. We're so grateful to be apexing. Shared time with you and the wolf. It's all love, brother. I hope you're doing amazing. Glad I was able to catch you before wrapping this one up. C. Oh, shit. That's an awesome... Damn. C said, you sound like a symphony. I love that. That really means a lot to me. I appreciate you. XR Peaky Blinder says, they say no pain, no gain. Happy Saturday, fam. I appreciate you. I hope you're doing amazing. Zoracle, appreciate you. Sylvia, appreciate you. All right. I hope you all... Somebody said you made me 6,000 the other day. Chris, you did it yourself, brother. Chris, good job, bro. I appreciate you. I didn't make you anything. You were the one that pushed the buy button and the sell button, and you made the profits. It's all you. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your kind words, but you get the credit 1,000,000%. All right, family, I love you all. I hope you're doing amazing today. I hope sharing this time together has reignited some creative essence in you. I know it will for me. I will be working on this decoding mastermind every day until it's released. Many hours being put into that. I'm really excited to share that with everyone. And tomorrow I will have the new Red Pill podcast available at patreon.com/watersabove. Be covering what's been going on in this market over the past week since these Bitcoin ETFs were approved. Maybe conspire a little bit about a potential ETH and XRP ETF. Talk about what could be going on in the next couple months because of the event that happened yesterday. Sorry, I'm just peeking over at my phone because I want to make sure that I got everyone's question in before wrapping this up. Hail Metallica, I always update the Livestream Archive a couple days after the live. Thank you for the reminder, though. But yeah, I will have this new podcast available pretty much this same time tomorrow. It's going to be packed with information. So I'll be catching some of you over there. And for the rest of you all, I'll be seeing you very soon. Wishing you all a beautiful rest of your Saturn day.